Sorry, please, yes.
I have a very short question. You said at the end of your lecture about going back to Marx, and most of us in this room are either capitalists or very complicated capitalists.
Yeah.
Because we have all been corrupted by the system of capitalism. And
Yeah.
is there ever a way of going back? So what would Marxism in the future look like for you if I mean, I can't imagine it's possible to go back.
No. I meant going back,
the
you know that there is a nice irony. You notice, it's probably there. All the biggest revolution usually assume the form of going back. Look, the biggest revolution in Christianity is Martin Luther, Protestantism. And he thought that what is he doing is just returning to original Christianity. So I would have to go again into deep theory here, but you know, I don't think that there was a Marx back there who deep in himself really knew what he wants. I like here Walter Benjamin, who says, you know, those wonderful metaphors that a true work of art, and I think the same goes for philosophy, is like a photograph film for which developers were not yet developed at the time shots were made. So it's only retroactively afterwards that you can say what it really meant. We can understand today Shakespeare better than he understood himself. Because works of art, even great theory, they are open. I claim we can only today say what Hegel wants. And in this sense, returning to Marx does not mean returning to Marx the way he was. For example, the first problem, already the problem of working class proletarian, at least in Europe, to be a classical Marxist proletarian, you are permanently employed with a big company. Okay, you are exploited, but at least you have your retirement settled, health insurance, and so on. It's almost a privileged position, my God. The first thing to do is we have to radically redefine who is a proletarian today. From precarious workers to, I don't know, even I am tempted to follow here Fred Jameson, that all those excluded from so-called rogue nations, failed states, to unemployed and so on. We have to redefine it. Exploitation no longer works in Marxist sense, a proof that I always like to enumerate. Take a country like Venezuela, where they successfully screwed it up and so on. But nonetheless, if you apply dogmatically Marxist analysis, then you are forced to say that under Chavez, Venezuela was exploiting American and European working class. Why? Because the bulk of the wealth of Venezuela came from exporting oil. And when Marx tries to prove in Capital that natural resources are not a source of value, the example he mentions is precisely oil. So, no, I'm not making this crazy conclusion. I'm just saying that already at this elementary level, I think it can be saved. But how? Marx's so-called labor theory of value. It's a very complex question, which have to renovate all this. Who is the working class today? Because, you know, as Alain Badiou once mentioned to me, in every historical epoch, there is usually one specific image of working class which somehow symbolizes the universal concept. In classical Europe, even more than metal workers, maybe, how do you call it, the idiots who go underground to coal miners. Miners were maybe the symbol, you know. And it's a big question, what is today? So all I would tell you is, no, don't feel bad. And you know, the worst thing to do for a honest capitalist, if such things exist, the worst thing is to go into, oh my God, I feel guilty and so on. You will not help any workers in this way. You should just be attentive to what is happening today in capitalism itself. I simply believe, following different analyses, that capitalism in itself, with intellectual property, ecology, who will control biogenetics and so on, is approaching certain limits. And I don't think it will be able to cope with them. At the same time, although they are too naive, who they? People like Paul Mason and all those, Jeremiah Rifkin, you know. But they are onto something when they talk about cooperative commons and so on, digitalization. Something new is emerging there, which, of course, capitalism desperately tried to reappropriate it. That's the whole point of Bill Gates. Bill Gates is not a capitalist, he is a rentier, rent. His profit is not, Bill Gates is meaningless to say that he is exploiting his workers. His money comes from the fact that Bill Gates privatized part of our intellectual commons, and we are paying a rent to him, which is why, did you notice this? The price of Windows have nothing to do with production costs. They are minimal. It's simply the question of market relations. So all these phenomena show how capitalism, I think sincerely, is approaching some kind of a crisis, not maybe the classical crisis, but simply the model works less and less. I already think that, for example, what is happening with financial capital today, it's more and more irrational. Or point two, what is happening with intellectual property, all the problems, copyrights and so on. It's clear that capitalism will, in the long term, will not be able to commodify fully so-called intellectual property. For the simple reason that the logic is totally different. If you have a material object like water, then if I drink it, haha, you will not drink it, you know. But with intellectual property, if I drink it and you drink it, the more wealthy it gets. It's a totally different logic where at a certain level, so, okay, I will not improvise it, but you see what I mean. I mean that, no, don't play this. This is for me the most disgusting thing, to play this charity. This is the image of today's capitalism. I am not, you know, like Bill Gates is for me the model. You get 50 billions, then you get maybe 20 billions back, playing charity, and then you are the greatest humanitarian in the world, and so on and so on. No, we should step out. The solution is not charity. The solution is to ruthlessly confront new challenges for capitalism. And so it's stupid to feel guilty and so on, I think, because I don't think that the revolution, and I don't mean in this pathetic Leninist sense, but the necessary change, that it will be the old change of, you know, hundreds of thousands on the street. It will be also that. But you know, if we have just that, then we have the problem V for Vendetta that I mentioned. But what happened then? I mean, the big, you know, or I'll put it in this way. Don't you, I hope you will agree with me. It's easy to organize a big demonstration. Ooh, we all cry. 1 million people there. We are all solidary. But again, what happens the day after? What to do and so on. For me, the true measure of a social change revolution is not this pathetic moment of hundreds of thousands of us on the street. It's the day after, when things return to normal. How will ordinary people feel the change? And there things don't look too good for the left, to put it mildly. You know, we get from one to another screwed option. Venezuela, I never trusted them, frankly. No, here my conscience is clear. For 10 years I'm warning that something will turn out bad. I never believed in this Latino American populism. Listen, Chavez was Fidel Castro with money from oil, you know. His friends, I had some friends in Venezuela told me, Chavez wasn't really solving problems. He was pacifying problems by throwing money at them. What do we have as a new model? I don't know. And here I'm trying to buy help from anyone, even from